question that I'm pursuing. So I don't have all the answers, but I have some thoughts that I've been pondering. And I think I kind of alluded to this. I think the ancestral memory piece, I think we as a people, as African-American people who have a particular history that has stayed with us and shaped us, have many wounds that have not been healed, that have been passed on from generation to generation. And so when I think about ancestral memory, I think about sort of coming face to face with that and seeking to allow that to transform us in a way, and finding in it those pearls of wisdom and strength that can propel us into the future. I mean, if we think about our ancestors and some of the things that they endured and that they overcame, they had a kind of fortitude and a kind of strength and a kind of resiliency and a kind of perseverance that allowed them to, allowed us to be present. I mean, they didn't die. I mean, they weren't wiped out. Although, psychologically the scars are deep and the wounds are great. I think if we just start with ourselves, I mean, there's some dark stories about my grandfather that I didn't talk about. I didn't talk about his temper, his vicious temper. I mean, he was a deacon in the church, but I mean, he cussed the preacher out in a minute, So we all have those kinds of stories. And it takes courage, though, to kind of look at that and sort of, but when we don't look at it, we're denying a part of ourselves. We're denying something of ourselves. And so we're not whole. And so we want to create a future that is whole, or as close to whole as we can get. And so part of that, in terms of how would the memory help that? So we're looking at these narratives, these stories, whether that's individually or communal or our collective memories, and intentionally saying, okay, where is the creativity in this? I mean, what is in here that can spark my creative thought about how to participate in, or how to be a co-creator, how can we co-create the spirit, a better quality of life, a higher, a more well-rounded quality of life and way of being in the world. I think now of some of the human potential psychologists like Jean Houston and the futurist, what is her name? Barbara Hubbard. Is sort of popular public intellectual who talk about this sort of evolution in consciousness and creating the future, and had the opportunity to actually work with Jean Houston in a series of workshops. And what she has done is study the ancient indigenous cultures from around the world and extracted from them her ideas about the power of spirit, the creative power of spirit, and how to harness that and how to use that in a way that we have agency in creating a future. So I think many people are doing that. I don't want to suggest that we're not. I think that more of us can be intentional about it. I mean, I think you're doing some of that with your work, with your leadership work, and if we were to sort of just send the ears and eyes out around the country, I'm sure we come across a number of people doing that. But I think if we had more and more circles of people who are saying, okay, we are these social midwives, and we are willing to midwife the future, then it could just sort of some point we'd reach a tipping point, and we would actually see some of those things come into fruition.